Good day, Dr. Tracy Wilson. Thank you for being with us. Please give us an introduction of who you are, what you do, and how long you have been doing it, and where you are.
Well, my name is Dr. Tracy Wilson. I'm a chiropractor, and I've been doing it for 24 years, and I live in Lubbock, Texas, and that is in the panhandle of the great state of Texas. As a chiropractor, I've had lots of enterprises. I have a nutrition store, cafe, healthy smoothie place. We built a property company that we were buying and selling properties and holding our incomes, and then we did. I have a CrossFit gym, what we own and operated well. So we just had all these businesses that were synergistic, if you will. And over the years, I just had a passion for one more thing because we had 5 kids and 4 girls and 1 boy. And I just had this passion to raise great kids. And so I did what every other chiropractor does. I just listened to my patients. And so I saw some patients with some really good kids and doing good things and amazing things. And I said, so I would pull them aside and I would ask them, like, well, what were you doing? What do you think you did? Or what do you think you said? Or how do you think you behaved? Or who is it that you beat, right? That makes those kids so darn good. And over the years, I just began to collect these principles and these ideas and these concepts. And really, I'd write them down. And I started to make my own collection of what's working, right? I mean, success leaves clues. And so we say that in business all the time, but I just took this idea of parenting my kids. And then I really had this little hidden fear. And the fear was, what's going to happen when these cute little babes want to go date hairy-legged boys, right? And I knew how I treated people. And I just thought, God, man, my dad never sat down and said, son, this is how you treat a woman. You don't objectify them. You don't look at them as a piece of meat. This is how you do it. And so the default always turns to that. And I just thought, golly, I hope my daughters meet a guy that's been trained up on how to treat and how to look and not objectify and really just do this. And at the same time, I thought, well, what's their role? Like if we're responsible for our success, then aren't they responsible for theirs too? So how do I take these concepts and get these concepts inside my kids so I could get them to make good decisions so that they knew what they were going to do, not me. I didn't want to be that helicopter parent sitting over them constantly telling them, don't do this and make your stuff and don't put the bread. Like, I just wanted them to be able to think. And so it's the old adage, right? I didn't want to teach you what to think. I want to teach you how to think. And so if I could train them in how to think, then I could then get them going in the right way, I felt like. So we experimented. I mean, we just literally just did it. And what we found out is there was these key moments that these principles got downloaded. And we called them date nights. We took our kids, on dates their whole lives. And so every week, even through challenges, even through divorce, even through all this stuff that goes on, I still kept taking my kids on dates and just pouring in. And through that process, we didn't let circumstances start to rule that. And even their mom was like, no, this seems to be working. Like, this is the right thing to do. So we kept doing that. We kept, and yeah, listen, as they grew, when they were little, the dates were simple, right? It was like ice cream, but they would get dressed up. They would put makeup. They would get dolled up. And then I got to show them, like, this is how you should expect to be treated. This is how that a date should treat you. This is like, I wanted to show them, this is what it looks like. This is like, we're going to open your door. We're going to take care of you. It's not to say that they couldn't. It's just to say that as a man, the way that I wanted them to see life is I wanted them to see it, that there were good people in the world that knew how to take care of somebody, and that they were a treasure worth being protected. And so as we look forward, we just took them on these dates, and it was constantly. It was just something that every week I took one of the others, and every week we took one of the others, and it's a lot of work. But then we would download these principles, and the principles were simple, like how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So we would just take that principle and just chew on it for that month, and so how you clean your room, or how you get dressed, or how you treat people, or how you do anything is how you do everything, and we'd take a simple principle like that. Another one that came up was that rules, and this was I got this in a book, but it's better than this, but rules without relationship equals rebellion. And so I noticed that when I had stepkids, I messed up. I mean, I applied rules before I had a relationship because there was no order, and it developed. I mean, we got rebellion, And so I was like, holy cow, this is, I'd never seen it with my girls because I always had great relationship. We focused so hard on the relationship that when I added rules, they were like, okay, dad said, and they were never upset about it because dad said, and they were cool. And this other one, it was more like, and my kids were always warning them like, hey, don't do that because it's serious. Like he's gonna, there's a consequences coming. And then the other one was just reality discipline. Like there's a reality to your discipline. When we first ran across this concept, we were at a parenting conference. I'll never forget it. My ex-wife was a counter, like the 1, 2, 1, and just sit there and count. And so, and I was an exaggerator, so I would say things like, if Kaylee, if you don't do that, I'm going to kick your butt to the moon, right? And so first she realized, number one, we're not going to kick her. Number two, the moon's a long ways away. And so my words didn't have meaning. And they also knew that her mom's words didn't have meaning because the reality was she's going to keep counting. And so I'll go when I want to go. And so when we did this, we had to say there's a reality. So we had to buckle our rules down and said, okay, no more counting. 1 is your warning, and then there's a swat on your butt, and we're going to consider that disobedience or disrespect or whatever. And the consequence is coming, whatever that is. Whatever we said, we got to be able to do. And that was the other thing. We weren't willing to always do what we said. Like when the kids, it was one of the things they get iPads back there, right? They were new to the kids. So, we're going to take your iPad away if you don't do this. Well, we didn't always take that away. So we had to learn that if we said it, we were going to do it. And that just meant that that's how the world should work, right? Like you said, we were going to do a call today, and I said yes, and so we're here doing it. Like no, we didn't. We said it, so we're going to do it. So that's how the world operates. That's how a successful world operates. So we wanted them to understand that. So these little principles that begin to crawl out. Quality time happens in the midst of quantity time. I think dads, we're bad about this.
Mm-hmm.
Like we look up and we say, we're like, okay, Kaveh, you walk into your kids and go, hey, listen, I've got 30 minutes, ready to go. It's quality time. Let's go. What do you want to do? And kids aren't like that. Like quality time happens in the midst of quality time happens in the midst of quantity time. And so it's when I'm putting them to bed that they say something about that book that you go, oh, that's it. Or like I remember as a chiropractor, I was reading a book to one of our kids, and her name's Kaylee, and I said, hey, Kaylee, it was a book that Jesus did this, it was a faith book, and so I think it comes along and it's doing all these little things, and it says Jesus healed the sick, and as I'm turning the page, she stops it, and she said, Dad, did Jesus give an adjustment or a vitamin?
It's funny because my son asked the exact same question.
Yeah.
He says, so he was asking me, so Dad, are you as powerful as Jesus now? So, sorry, go on.
But no. But those moments, those things, they happen because you're present. And in today's world where I don't even know where it went. Oh, right here. Where these things get in the way of everything. These things take up massive amount of time. These things control our efforts. I think that we have to guard so hard so that we can have some kind of function in our life so that we know where we're going and what we're up to. Like we have that sense.
Give us some tool about that guarding, because most of us are so busy, and we are in our practice or our daily work. Then we go home and we have other things to take care of. And unfortunately, in today's society, we forget what we are really working for, that comfort at home. And we have robbed ourselves out of it.
I think you're right. And so here's the thing that I think, to answer your question. One of the things that we've done, okay, that was hard. It was hard. This was really hard. We weren't great at it as the kids were older, but we did it. Was no phones at the dinner table. Us and them, when we got the opportunity to sit down, no phone to the dinner table.
Wonderful.
The other thing of it is that in those moments that we were doing life, or we were putting them to bed, or when they were little, we didn't have them when they were little. But I know parents today that have the kids little, they carry this around the house. We carry this from room to room. We carry this to the bathroom. We carry this whatever. And there's just got to be an intentional moment that you put the thing down and you tend to what you want to do. You read the book with the kiddo, you do homework with them. Like, I can't tell you, not all date nights were ice cream. Some date nights were homework.
Mm.
But I sat next to them and worked with them in their homework. I helped them study. I read their note cards to them. It wasn't always, glamour and makeup and fun and steak dinners and all that. Some of that, but some of it was, Dad, I got a ton to do. Awesome. How can I help you? Well, you want to read these note cards to me? Sure. So we would just study together. Now, there's not a lot of, I wouldn't say there's a lot of fun in that. It's to do that, but you got to make it a priority. But my daughter also, each one of them in those times, I was able to help them learn how to study, because I was seeing that they were doing it maybe out of default. Like, for example, my third daughter thinks like I think in a lot of ways. And she has to write things down to remember them. But she wasn't doing it. She was trying to skip it and always doing it, but she was struggling. And I told her, I was like, but what if you write this down? She goes, well, I always remember what I write. And I said, why don't you just rewrite your notes all the time? She's like, well, it's a lot of effort. I'm like, well, do you want the grade or do you not want the grade? She's like, well, I don't know. So to this day, she rewrites everything. And she has got top grades. She's done it. But it happened because of being intentional with my time and not going, okay, she's doing homework, so let me go scroll around and screw off here. And I think that's what people do a lot. And I just find that that's what eats our time and our life and our success and all away is when we do that. So for me, I think there's just a value like crazy to digging into life with kids and just being intentional with that. And you just have to guard against those things. Now, I'll say this other, my little granddaughter, that same device that I have to guard against is my tool that I connect with, because she's in another place and I can FaceTime with her. And what's really cute is she walks up and Kaveh, if she was standing here, she's used to seeing this.
Mm-hmm.
But she'll walk up. I mean, she won't walk up because she's a baby, but when somebody carries her up, she'll look at you and then reach out and then touch your face. And she'll just squeeze, and she's like, okay, you're not on the screen.
You're close by.
And it's so that world has changed so much for us that she has to kind of think, okay, they're here. So I could touch you and play with you, because she'll still go grab the phone and kiss the phone. But there's no texture to it. There's no, and so she's having to learn what that's like, but it's a fun adaptation. So I think it's a fine balance that we have to play with.
That's the whole issue, Dr. Wilson, that how do you keep that balance? To be a success, unfortunately, we have this idea that you have sacrificed time and energy, but you can have it all as long as you keep the end point, like that lighthouse that me and you were about, always in front of you, looking at it.
Yeah. So I don't conspire to the idea of balance. I don't. And I think balance is a farce. Here's what I think it is. I think it's intentionality. Meaning, when I'm at the office, I'm all at the office. My phone's not in my pocket. I don't carry it room to room. I don't have it on me when I'm with the patient. I have zero distractions when I'm with that patient. That's been my badge of honor for years. When I go and get asked to consult or do some things in Cairo, and I walk into an office and the doc's got the phone in the pocket, I know for these younger generations, they're putting their stories and they're promoting and they're taking pictures. But I'll just take the 5 steps and get my phone off my desk and then come back, versus having the phone on me. I don't want the distraction. Because here's what the research tells us, that when it buzzes in my pocket, and I've watched my team do it, I've watched young docs do it, I've had docs shadow me that did it. They'll get the buzz, and they said the same urge of a cocaine addict is the same urge to check what it is.
Wow.
That's fascinating. So they'll all check and they'll put it down, but they're not present. So my badge of honor has been no phone on me while I'm with a patient. Now, what if I took that no phone with me, no phone on me when I'm with my daughter? So when I'm there, I'm all there. But when I'm at work, I'm all at work. So I'm not having a long drawn out conversation. Now, if they need me, I can break from work and get need. But I'm not trying to keep a text feed all day long, because my kids will be like, Dad, you didn't answer me back. Like, I'm at work. And so they've learned that I'm available. Like, I'll answer you at lunch, but I'm not going to keep a long text feed through the day, because when I'm at work, I'm at work. And if there's an emergency, I'll break. But if it's not an emergency, I'll catch you at lunch. And then I'll deal with those things during lunch. And then when I come back, I'm at work. So when I'm at home, I'm at home. And so I there's times that if it's time for my wife and I, right? And if we're going to have some sexy time, I'm not carrying that phone on me. That's our time. But we do it in some areas of our life. We start to marginalize that it's okay to do that. And just look around you. Just look at how many times a parent's sitting there and they're both on their phones, totally distracted, and yet they're 2 feet away. I get from time to time, if you followed me around long enough, if we're traveling with our family, we're the same way, because it's a bit of a distraction. It's our music, it's our connection, it's our stuff. But I'll tell you this, for parents out there listening, this is a fascinating idea. If you take your phone and you go to settings and you scroll down to battery and you click battery, you'll look at the last 24 hours, and you can click either last 24 hours or the last 10 days. And then you can say show activity. It'll give you a percentage. It'll say show activity, and it'll tell you how long. Like today, I've been on the phone an hour and 49 minutes. I've been on Facebook for 31 minutes. I've been on Instagram for 24 minutes, and my screen's been locked for 41 minutes. I've been messaging people for 25 minutes. That's been where I put my phone today. Okay. At the end of every day, I can see how I spent my time on my phone. You can look at your kids too, and you can see that they're wasting a lot of time on their social apps. And so sometimes just bringing it to light over the last 10 days, like we did this over the last 10 days, one girl was on Snapchat 31 hours. 31 hours.
Wow.
So when you see that, you're like, whoa, hang on, time out. How much is this controlling what I do? And then we conspire to get our kids to say, challenge yourself not to let that control you. Like, where else could you invest 31 hours? You know, for them, how much were you on your Bible app? How much were you on your friend? Like were you messaging your friends back and forth? They go, this is, one of my kids one time, we took his social media away. And you remember Napoleon Dynamite, the movie?
Yeah.
Remember the guy's kind of got that dumb look on his face. and so I took that picture and I put this quote on it, because it just was so funny. He's literally sitting on the couch. He's like, how am I supposed to be social without social media? You know? And it was freaking funny, but it was like their whole world revolves around this. And for them, it's like oxygen. For us, it's just not connection. I mean, it's a way to stay in touch, just not connection. So I think I desire deep connection. I desire it. My wife and I, my friends, the groups we're in, when we travel and we get to hang out with other chiros, we get to get face-to-face with dinner, we really love that connection. And I just don't think kids have had that. But when kids have had that, they'll desire it too. So because I took my kids on those one-on-ones, because I took that, they don't mind setting their phone down and get connected. And they do it with their friends, and they challenge their friends. And so they'll tell me stories of them doing it. And sometimes, as parents, here's the thing. Sometimes if I message them and they don't message me right back, I have to hope that's because they're connecting with somebody. But we understand that they get us right back. Right? I messaged you. Why didn't you message me right back? Because we assume the phone's in their hand 24/7, which most of the time it is. But the reality of it is, hopefully they're connected with somebody. And many times my daughter said, hey, Dad, sorry, I had my phone on sleep. I was doing some studying. What's up? And so I've trained them that you can turn your phone on airplane mode while you're studying. And so it's not dinging and distracting you in that little cocaine feel that I've got to go get it.
Yeah.
So that's a hack I've taught my kids, is that if you're studying or you're getting a project done, even for you and I, turn that thing on airplane mode and then do your work. And then when you come back, all those things that are there will be there.
Now, just the way you have described this whole setting that you put out, which is amazing, because you set the example. You do exactly that, hoping your kids will watch you and follow the example, which sounds like they have been. Now, this brings a certain level of wellness to the family, because you're communicating now verbally rather than behind that screen.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your key in connecting with your daughters, with your kids? How is it that you can go on their level, on their understanding, to connect with them, basically heart to heart?
Right. So I think, so you're going to know this. I don't know if our listeners will, but I'll share it. So when we went through chiro school and you go through that, neurology is one of those things I just fell in love with. And when you understand the different parts of the brain and you understand when they develop, and you don't apply it to the care we give, but you apply it to parenting, right? So let's walk through it. The frontal lobe, okay, is the last to develop. It doesn't develop till about the age of 25. The midbrain is that thing that's always there. And I'm saying fully developed. It's developing, but it's fully developed. The midbrain is the selfish part of the brain. It's the part about me and mine, and it's all the areas of emotion. And that really begins to develop anywhere from 4 to 5 up through the age of 18. So this midbrain experience is always there. And then the hindbrain, the reptilian brain, is the reactionary brain that's there from birth all the way through life, right? So we develop back to front and we die front to back, right? So think about it. It's very hard for a kid to care about others because the front's not developed. As I age and I get older and the elderly, what do? They sit on their yard, get up my yard, right? And they yell at you because they don't care about others anymore, right? And they're right. Finished. And so they're losing that frontal lobe, right? We come into this world peeing our pants. We leave this world peeing our pants, right? So just the way the brain develops is this idea that the brain is putting this thing. So what does that mean to us in parenting? Well, the hindbrain's the first thing there. That's toddlers, that's kids, that's you take it, I take it back. If that's been in my hands, it's mine. If it's in your hands, but it was in my hands prior, then it's mine now. And so it's this whole idea I can cry for what I want. And if I cry hard enough, no doesn't mean no, it means I haven't cried hard enough yet. So the hindbrain is this side that it's just selfish and gnarly and I take what I want. It's reptilian. You can't teach a snake not to bite, right? It's just going to bite. So there's a part of these kids in life that when they're 2 and 3 and they go, oh, they bit somebody at school, we have to begin to tell them that that's wrong. And we have to begin to guide them, but that's a reptilian part of the brain. You bite me, I'm punching back, right? And that's part of all of us that we still have. We've just learned to filter it because the front part of our brain's formed. Those little kids that hasn't, that's what they're doing. So what we're doing as being an example, what we're doing when we're teaching is we're providing neural pathways of understanding that this is how we do it. Like when something doesn't go wrong, we don't fight back. So we have to walk those steps. And every parent really intuitively does that to their kids. There are some lazy parents that go, good, glad you bit them. They deserve it, right? Those kids are going to really struggle because they weren't given the path that says, you need to care about others, right? And so I always tell people, they here we are at Thanksgiving time, right? And it's like I'll see a bunch of pictures posted, people at and this sounds terrible, but I'm not dogging it, but just get the context of it. But they're at shelters serving during holidays, right? And they're like, my kids are so giving, and I'm like, bull crap. Like you're doing it for an emotion, and you're doing it once a year. And you're doing it so that because you got all the kids around, you want to feel good, which is it does feel good to give, but you're not doing it because these kids are naturally givers. Let me tell you if they're naturally givers. Let me tell you what to do. And this is what I challenge every parent that says this. Give them their gifts on Christmas morning. And as they open them all and they're looking at them, say, all right, let's wrap them up. We're going to go give them to the shelter. Tell me if your kid's a giver. Your kid's not going to be a giver because they're like,
great point.
That's my stuff. You're not giving my stuff away. That's my stuff. So they'll give of their time, and we need to teach them to do that. So that's a process of teaching them. But let's not be like crazy in our head to think, oh, my kid's such a giver. They serve the shelter all day. Like, yeah, you taught them to, and you need to, and we need to do that. But you need to show up in January, and you need to show up in February, and you need to show up on a non-holiday. Now that's teaching to give. You need to teach them to clean their room, and then take those clothes and box them and give them to somebody. Like that's. Those things, those start to model the behavior after. So a lot of us teaching that, but they go through that midbrain, which is all about me, So as teenagers, which is funny because you got a teenager, right?
Yes. No, not yet. In few years.
Okay. So if parents listening, one of the funniest things about teenagers is they'll say something like, don't you ever think about anybody but yourself. And the teenagers are like, no. Just about me. and because the reality that they're going to the midbrain. Now, here's what's interesting. Kids, hindbrain, early midbrain, is you can tell them anything and they believe you, right? You tell them there's certain characters who are coming in the house. And And they're like, okay, this is great. And then they start to question it. And then they go, okay, you're growing up. Well, guess what? They're going to question the things you taught them. You're going to tell them that there's no way you can break my love. We tell our kids that, like, I love you. You can never change that. They're going to challenge and say, wait a second, let me break dad's TV and see if he still loves me. It's not the conscious thought they do, but it happens in this progression. Like, they're going to call you out on that stuff. And that's what I've seen over the kids, is that for them to really challenge the belief, they're going to challenge us. Say, did you really mean that? Did you really mean that you'd come get me in any circumstance? Well, let me try it. Like, it's not a conscious forethought. It's a background thought that says, I need to challenge every single thing you've told me to see if it's true. And that's just a part of growing up.
Now, I need to ask you and your opinion about nowadays, when the kids go play, in a game, basketball, volleyball, whatever, nobody's a winner, nobody's a loser, everybody goes home with a trophy.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about that?
Oh gosh, no. Listen, I think it is a very popular thought. It's becoming more popular, and I think it's full of it. I think it's because here's the deal. There's always been the thought that if we take everybody's money, we evenly distribute it around the world, then everybody will have something and nobody will be in lack. But the truth of it is, economic models will show you that if you take all the money in the world, within 3 to 5 years, the rich will be rich and the poor will be poor again. Because it's not about evenly distributing out everything. Kids need to know how to win and they need to know how to lose. And so we have purposely put our kids in places where they did that, where they could win at times and know what winning is, and they can lose at times and know what losing is. Because guess what? I've won a lot in my life, but I failed a lot too. The failure teaches you something. And so instead of looking at, I'm just concerned that if you fail, you'll feel bad, I think here's the nuts and bolts. Why are parents scared to let their kids feel bad? And here's the thing. I helped my daughter she had to write a paper on utopia and what utopia is. And so this idea of utopia where everything's perfect. And that's what everybody's after. Like, I just want everybody to feel good, right? Mm-hmm. The truth of it is that not everybody feels good. And you won't always feel good in life. It's a farce. And the truth is we're hurting our kids by not letting them feel either side. So in utopia, if I have a perfect sandwich, how do I know it's a perfect sandwich? I was told. But how do I know? How do I test that? Because at some point I've had a crappy sandwich. Mm-hmm. But when I eat a perfect sandwich, I know what that's like. I also know what an average sandwich is. So my experiences in life are, how do you know you stayed at a Motel 6 versus a Ritz-Carlton? Because the experience you have. So if we made all hotels equal, right, all the same charges, but life gives us these choices that I could grow up and be a Motel 6 and give a basic experience, or I can go up and have a Ritz experience where it's just this incredible life-changing experience just because it was a hotel room, right? Just the Magnolia Hotel that we were at up there. What a wonderful hotel. What a staff remembered your name when you come down. Our lady who cleaned our room, she would put our stuff up. I mean, she would fold our clothes. Fantastic hotel, fantastic. But what an amazing experience. And thank God all hotels aren't equal. And thank God all people aren't equal. And thank God that all winning is not equal. Because the truth of the matter is, people are scared to feel bad and they're scared to lose. And what I'm driven towards is that I want to learn from every time I lost. Like I've got a business right now that's losing. It's just not doing good. And then I've got a partner who just walked from it. It's all in my deal now. And it's losing. Now, it doesn't feel good at all, but I'm learning. And I'm learning what my role can be. I'm learning what I can feel and what I can test. I'm learning what I can do. Because here's the thing. It's what we focus on, right? Mm-hmm. I'm either going to focus on what I can control or what I can't control, right? And yeah. I'm going to focus on the past, the future, or the present. If I got to look back to know where I've come from, I've got to have some reference point. But it's a reference glance. But I need to be looking forward, and I need to be living now. 50% now and 50% in the past. I mean, in the future. So if I make a plan for the future, I make a plan here. The trouble is people that had a tough past, that had a tough emotion, that never got picked for the team, that didn't get to do this, they're worried about how we feel. And the reality of it is that feelings are just what we focus on. what we feel is what we're focusing on. So I'm either focusing on the things I can or can't control. I'm either focused on the things I have or I don't have, right? So if I get up today and I focus on the things I don't have and I can't control, I'm upset already.
Yeah.
I feel bad, right? But if I get up today and I focus on what I can control, and I focus on what I have, and I focus on where I'm going, then I have hope. If I focus on my past, that could be reflective, where I'm like, that's good, or it could be, man, that really sucks.
Regret it.
So my focus is how I feel. And so when parents get so caught up on the idea that I need to control how my kid feels, like, again, you can't control whether your kid's good at soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And one of my daughters one time, I'll never forget this. I was an athlete, played sports in college, tried out for pro team, the whole thing. And so as an athlete, my oldest daughter just wasn't. And I'm like, man. And so everything she tried out for, I mean, she was terrible. She was terrible at basketball. She's terrible at soccer. She didn't like the contact. She was just, and I'm like, oh man, I want an athlete, you know? And I wanted an athlete. And then she picks up this volleyball one time and she's swinging. And so I'm helping her and she swings this, and we're just playing in the backyard. I'm trying to find something she gets good at. And she hits this ball and she goes, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Give me that ball again. Well, she fell in love with volleyball in sixth grade. She had to make a team. She was teeny-tiny. I got this picture of this. I mean, she's just a twerp. And she grows and she does it. Her junior and senior year, she wins all these awards, gets scholarship offers in place. And now every girl in our family has followed that lead and played amazing volleyball. I've got one playing in college. And it set the seed of one ball in a backyard where she fell in love with it. My point is, she failed at a lot of stuff. She sucked at a lot of stuff. She got cut from a lot of stuff. I was never worried about it because I wanted her to feel it. Because when I feel it, I can desire something else, right? Because I don't want to lose. But if I don't know what losing is, I have no reference point. If I don't know what, I really can't love, right? So we talked about this in the talk we did. If I don't know the worst negative about a person, the most positive about a person, I'm either self-righteous or self-righteous. And so if I'm only focused on the positive and negative on the negative, that's what love is. Your marriage, you know good and bad about it.
Yeah.
So in life, we need to teach them, if they're going to love life, then they're going to know the good and the bad of life. They got to know that there's good people in the world, there's bad people in the world. They got to know that I'm in control of a destiny of some sense. And if I want to make the team, not everybody gets a ribbon. Some people get cut. And I think just parents, and we call it daddy goggles, right? Like you just look to these daddy goggles and we all want the best for our kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best is not making the team.
Well, with my kids, especially my boy, when he goes for the game, and sometimes they lose, and I always cheer his effort.
Yeah.
But I always let him know that the other team tried a little harder.
Yeah.
And that's what made the difference.
Sure.
The level of effort was what was the difference. It wasn't just he didn't do enough. He did his best, and all we ask is for his best ability, nothing more, to give it a 100%.
Did you play sports growing up?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So can you remember all your games or just a couple that you stood out? What'd you play?
I played soccer and I played lacrosse.
Okay. So do you remember all your soccer games or just a couple that stand out?
No, just a couple games. You're right.
Right. So you don't remember all those?
No.
It doesn't matter.
No, that's right.
Freak out. It doesn't matter win or lose, right? We do club volleyball. So we're going to win. We're going to do this. It doesn't matter. What matters is I'm paying you to get reps. And my kids all remember a couple of their games. I remember a couple of my games. I played baseball my entire life. I remember a couple of games. I pitched a perfect game in Little League All-Stars, and I pitched the worst game in Alva, Oklahoma that I've ever pitched in my life. I pitched 6 pitches, and the score was 4-0, and I got pulled. So a base hit.
Yeah, you're right. That's bad.
A base hit, a ball, a ball, and a home run. So it was a grand slam, 6 pitches, and I got pulled. Yeah. So worst pitching thing I've ever done in my life. And so I remember that, right? But I also remember pitching the perfect game. I threw no balls, I struck everyone out, no hits, no runs, no errors, no walks, no balls, and I remember that. I still have the trophy. So it was one of those things where you remember a few things in your life, but parents focus on all the wrong things. If I just focus on my experience, like, let me tell you what club volleyball is for me. It's reps for my kid and it's time in the saddle with me. So we got to
Yeah.
travel games. I have you in the car. I'm going to pull those headphones out of your ear and we're going to talk.
That's right.
And if you want me to listen to your music, then let's jam out to your jam. Okay. It's not going to maybe be mine. And maybe I got a podcast I want you to listen to. But either way, it's going to be us doing something together for the next couple hours while we go to this tournament. And then tonight, when we go eat, we're gonna talk about the tournament. And yeah, you're gonna talk about your team, and I might talk about your team. But at the end of the day, we're gonna talk about how you can improve and how your experience was. And so it goes back to those simple date nights. For me, that's just a really long date weekend. And so I'm all for it, and I'm all available for it because it gives me time in the saddle.
Dr. Wilson, honestly, talking to you, it just brings up so many subjects that we can just dive in and speak hours, but I know your time is limited. When you wake up, what is your routine? What is it that you do when you wake up? Give us 3 things you do during your day to set you up for your day.
So my ideal day. So here's my failure. My ideal day is this: I get up, I pee, I pour coffee, and I jump into the Word and I read for a minute. Okay. Because I run the social media for all the companies, I dive into social with the intent of posting. So I go through the companies with an intent of posting, and sometimes I research companies that are doing something really well. I see what they're up to, then I'll model it in mine. And so I'll do that for 30 to 40 minutes as I'm sipping coffee. And then I work out. And so I either go CrossFit or I have a Peloton at home, or I have a CrossFit gym in my barn. So I can go to any of those things, or I pack my bag because I'm going to work out at lunch or whatever. And then my wife usually is up about that time, and then connect with her. The kids are older, so they're teens, so they're not morning people. So it's not. You also have to learn. I never finished this, but in that midbrain, you have to learn how to connect with them. So I've had late night connectors, I've had lunch connectors, I have text connectors, so each one connects differently, and so you got to figure that out. But the morning, they're not interested in conversation, and I'm not interested in having a grumpy conversation. So there's not this huge connection in the morning for us. It's I love mornings. My wife is a do the bare minimum to get going thing. She's perfect from 9 on. She loves that time, but she just wants to sip coffee and wake up. By the time she gets up, because I usually wake up about 5 or 5:30. And get the day started, and then go from there. And then I get to the office, and then we prep the day, and then we get after it. So sometimes during that prep time, I write down. So I think here, if I narrow it down this, my trouble is if I jump social before I jump Bible, that's a problem. And I've done it, and I don't like it. It just doesn't get my mindset. I love my mindset when I can get in journal first and then get into it. So that's just that alarm in my head that gets off and goes, oh my gosh, we got this, we got that event, don't forget. And so I just go into do mode, and then also prep planning the day. When I sit down and just write out the day, like here's the things that if I get these done today, I know I've succeeded. I think that just helps us in life know we're winning.
It does.
So we do that, and then I would love to say that I journal gratitude every single day. I don't, but I do partly on my phone at night. I have a little message deal I do, and then sometimes I write it, but it's never consistent. So those are my improvements I can make too.
Perfect. Now, if we were to take you back to the day you graduated from school,
okay,
what is the best piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Chiro school?
Yeah. Your advice has to be in generally about life.
Save early. Save early. I never was not a saver, but I wish I would have saved early. I say that because I invested everything back in the business to keep growing the businesses, to keep growing them. But people were like, just take $10, just $10 a month, just $20 a month, just set that aside and you'll never see it. I was 14 years into practice before I automated savings. And we've stacked a lot. And so I automate now about $3,000 a month that goes into investments. I never see it. So I'm stacking more now than I ever have, but I wish I'd have done it over my entire career.
into earlier.
See it, you will spend it. If you see it, you will spend it.
That's right.
And I just wish I would have done that, because I would have had the fruits of all those years. Now I've bought and sold a lot of businesses, and I've done well, and net worth is good, and things like that. But in a flash of a pan, all that could change. So
Yeah.
I wish I would have stacked a little earlier.
Okay. Dr. Tracy Wilson, you have been amazing, sir. I am absolutely honored to have had you here. You are a gem, and every conversation you have, it always opens whole new avenues and conversations to talk about. I'm grateful for your attendance, and I'm grateful for you saying yes to us. So please come back to us in another perfect time. I hope to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for reaching out. And absolutely, let's do this again, and we'll pick one of these topics and go to town on it.
You got it. Thank you so very much.
You got it. You got it.
Have a great day.
You too.